Alright guys, I had a friend return to Defiance today, and it made me think that maybe I could explain a few things to you. We'll do some videos here and we'll try to explain how some things work, because they didn't understand things, and I didn't really explain it out because the way I handle things is I kind of explain it like you've been here and you understand things. And so I'm going to explain it in manners like you haven't played the game and you don't know what the hell it is I'm talking about. So maybe it'll actually help you out. And what I really want to talk about, and this is a good place to tell you, is threat level. You only really see threat levels when there's a reason to have a threat level, meaning there's an enemy somewhere nearby. If there's no enemies, then there tends to be no threat level. So you don't see anything written on my screen. So what I'm going to show you is, as soon as I drive into this red circle, a threat level appeared. You see that 10 threat? That is the current threat level. That is the highest threat level in the game. Well, what does that mean? Well, what a threat level means is the enemies are tougher. That means there's more people and that enemies are tougher. Now, if you're low ego, you don't really see a threat level. So, I mean, it's a low threat level, and even if you're like below 1,000, a threat level 1 is something serious. It's serious fighting going on there. But as you get higher, threat levels mean very little. So I mean, the threat level scale goes from 1 to 10, and the higher your ego is, the more likely you are to see a higher threat level. And the more high level people that are there, the higher the threat level is going to be. It only really takes two high ego people to make a threat level 10, which makes it very, very hard. Now, in this instance here, there are so many people. The threat level is irrelevant. There's so many people to shoot at the enemies. But once we get into a spot where there aren't this many people and there's only 2, that's a serious threat level. That's a serious fight to get the threat level 10. We are not super invincible just because you're a high ego. Now, if you say this had been just me and an ego 500 person, we'd probably be looking at like a threat level 3, where he would be struggling and it would be nothing to me. Everything would be dying like instantly. And no, I'm not driving all crazy here, just in case you're wondering. There's so many people here, it does make a lot of lag. It makes everything that much harder to do. So that's just, I wanted to kind of explain what it is, what the threat level is, and it basically goes by people, the amount of people around, and their egos. Now, if you got a lot of low ego people, the threat level is going to eventually get higher because there's that many people there. So, I mean, that's all stuff to keep in mind. And so the higher the threat level goes, the tougher the enemies are going to be, the more damage they're going to do. Now, if it confuses you, what the threat level will do to your ego, if you're an ego, 400, and you get around a bunch of high ego people, it will boost your ego all the way up to 4,750, and that is the max that it will boost it to. So if you're confused, why is my ego saying this when I'm around a bunch of people? Well, that's why. The game is making you stronger and tougher so that you can deal with the same enemies and this threat level that you're having to deal with, because there's so many high ego people around you. So that is why your ego goes up. The only problem here is, say, your shield isn't getting stronger. Your guns aren't necessarily getting stronger. It's just that because of your ego, you're doing more damage. So that's kind of what that's all about. So there's the thing and how the threat level kind of works, and why your ego is jumping up. If you didn't understand why. I've got a singer. You hear that? I've got a singer. Oh, nothing like some free entertainment. Okay. But that's why your threat level goes up and down like it does, and that's why your ego goes up and down like it does. The enemies are forcing I should say the other Arc Hunters around you, their egos are forcing the threat level, forcing the enemies to be stronger and harder to deal with. It's a lot of the reason why I can spot a low ego person in, say, a War Master, is when I see something hit them and they go down instantly, I know that's low ego person. Their shield capacity could not handle the hit. Because where you're a low ego person, you have a shield that may have 2,000 capacity. Mine has 13,000, so I can take a lot more damage than you. So that's how I can generally see instantly and know, okay, this was a low ego person. That hit there wouldn't have even taken away my full shield, and it completely put them down. So threat level is very important and something to keep an eye on. That's right next to where your name is and where your shield is on the screen if you aren't looking. It's really important to keep an eye on that, because if you see that threat level go up, you can't just run through and fight the enemies like you have no care like we used to back in the old days of playing. You have to pay attention to where you're at, where your cover's at, how you're going to be fighting, what weapons you're using. And we'll get into some of that more, but I thought threat level would be the most important thing for me to cover, and something that you really need to keep your eye on, and explain kind of how it worked. And you know, and if you're not sure, if this doesn't explain enough to you, just throw me a question. I'm pretty good about answering well-placed questions that people ask me in my comments. So just leave me a comment if you're not sure what this is about, and I will do my best to answer any questions that you have. And I will catch you guys later.